Yo, yo, what's going on, guys? It's Really Trade Lions fans back at you. Just checking in before the draft. Want to see what y'all are up to. Let's see. Man, 2 more days till the draft. I am excited. All right, starting to get the people in the building. Impromptu live, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. That's me clicking my laptop, Funky. How you doing, bro? Yeah, so it looks like the majority of DCA is busy tonight. So I'm just going to talk for a little bit. Want y'all know that round one is going to be hosted on my channel come Thursday. So if you guys are tuning in to the streams, looking for whose channel it's going to be on, it's going to be on mine. We'll have the round table going and have, a lot of the DSA members on. A couple of them are going to be doing a little bit of their own thing in terms of, connections that they have. Like I know Jim and Kern, them, I believe, are doing like Belly Up Sports for a couple of picks. And, we're all going to be doing our thing. But we'll definitely be having, the majority of the DSA on our channel. So if you guys want to tune in, for sure. Good, Funk. Haven't been on in a while. Definitely want to put it out there, let everyone know that, the draft round one is going to be on our channel. Just start, notifying everyone. So there is some news I want to talk about, though. I mean, a couple, of our players, they've been coming out talking about their opinions about the draft and things like that. So, like for instance, Taylor Decker, right? He came out and he wants us to take all linemen in the draft, which I thought was pretty funny. Obviously we're not going to do that, but it's nice to know that, our starting left tackle, arguably, the leader of our offensive line is saying that he's welcoming, an offensive lineman into the locker room and actually is advocating it for it. So that's exciting, especially considering the fact that we need another right tackle. We need a guard. We got to beef that lineup, especially, given if you have seen any of Luke's films, or any of his lives when he goes into detail. I mean, you look at how poor that right side is. We can't run to that side. We can't move in motion over there, and it needs help, man. And if you're going to invest in the team, you start with the trenches, right? You don't just go and grab a pass catcher. You don't go grab a tight end. You got to build from the line of scrimmage out. So regardless of who our quarterback is, you can't go wrong with getting another tackle. So I'll be happy with how if we can get, Sewell or Slater early if we are not able to move back. He also said he doesn't pay attention to the draft. I don't know if that's true, man. I don't know how true that is because this man is going live like every day and he's doing his film review and you know how it is. But yeah, so another thing I want to talk about, if you guys follow any of the updates about other teams, things like that, the Patriots are looking to trade up with the Panthers. I personally view this as two different scenarios. Either it screws us in our ability to trade back, to get more value out of our pick, or what's going to happen is a team like the Broncos that the Patriots are jumping ahead of would potentially move forward, right? Or you have someone like Washington that would be willing to give up a little bit so that they can make sure they're getting their quarterback. I'll be talking about that guy. Oh, yeah. I mean, that is true. I was going to say, if you're talking about Luke, that's crazy. But yeah, so with the Patriots trying to move up to 8, that puts us in an interesting situation, right? Because I only view 2 other teams really looking to potentially trade up to get their quarterback, right? And that leaves Washington and that leaves the Broncos. And so they say you don't trade up with a team that needs a quarterback, you trade up with a team that does not. So that would make perfect sense with the Panthers, right? They just got Sam Darnold. They definitely would be willing to trade back. And what's up, John? How you doing, man? And so with them trying to jump the Broncos, that obviously gives the Patriots an advantage, so they can either get Justin Fields or whoever they're really looking at. And so it's hard because I want to say this potentially could up the price of our pick if Washington or the Broncos are super high on grabbing a quarterback this year. Let's see, the Chargers could move up for an O-lineman. That is very true. That is very true. The rumor has it that they might be trying to get Sewell if he falls. If it does go like a couple quarterbacks in a row, Pitts, Chase, I could definitely see him trying to pair up Sewell with Justin Herbert again, help keep him up off his back. I mean, that's possible, right? There's a couple very high-end touted players that are offensive linemen. Kyle Pitts is super high. Jamar Chase is super high. So there's going to be those teams that are like, well, I need to grab my tackle, or maybe someone pulls in Atlanta, when they grabbed Julio and just goes all in on like a Jamar Chase or someone, which, my opinion is that the Dolphins are going to take either Pitts or Chase, whichever one, they prefer if Atlanta doesn't take one. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm really hoping that we can make a trade happen, just given the fact that, there's so many players at 7 we could take because there's going to be 3-4 quarterbacks that go before our pick. And so that's going to leave us with the top prospects. So I'm hoping we can make a deal. My ideal trade scenario would be with the Patriots, that 15th overall pick, another first next year, and potentially like a later round pick would be the most ideal because it still keeps us high enough to where we can address the offensive lineman position, or even if you do want to take a pass catcher or whatever you want, you're still high enough to get one of those highly touted players. And so if not them, I really would like the Chargers, but I don't know if they'll be willing to give up more than their first and second of this year. Let's see. 85% Lance and Fields there at number 7. I'll be honest with you, John. 100% honest with you, I do not believe that Mac Jones is going 3rd overall. I don't know why there's that much hype about him going 3rd overall when he was ranked like the 5th quarterback the entire time. And then for some reason, they're like, oh, we want Mac Jones. How do you go from Jimmy Garoppolo to Mac Jones? I feel like that is a very lateral move, And so I personally think they're going Lance or they're going Fields. I think they want someone that's a little bit more mobile and that has a higher ceiling because Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have a very high ceiling. He has a higher floor, so he can get the job done and whatever, but like he's hurt, in the past 3 seasons, he's missed like 23 games. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I assume you think Goff is the future. No, hell no. Lion King, I'll tell you what, man, I definitely don't think Goff is the future, but you cannot go wrong with building your team to support a quarterback coming in. Right. I think this class is very, top heavy and they have depth, but like top heavy with offensive linemen, or even if you do want to take a pass catcher, I don't see a reason to force a quarterback. My belief is you build a team, you plug in the quarterback. We've seen this time and time again. I mean, literally the Broncos plugged in Peyton Manning, over the hill Peyton Manning, and went to a Super Bowl. Even when the year before when they didn't go to the Super Bowl, and they just had a phenomenal season breaking every record, they had everything in place. They had a stellar defense. They had 3 pass catchers. They had a run game. They had offensive linemen, and if you build a team and all you have to do is plug in one player, that is a lot better. No matter what player it is, you plug in one player, that's a lot better than, I have to get a defense. And that's 11 players right there. I have to get this. I have to get that. I don't want to have the same problem we had when we had Stafford. You draft him 1st overall, and it's fantastic because he was a beast coming out of college and everything, and he was really good for us. But we never had a defense for him. We were never able to keep him clean because our offensive line always sucked. We never had a run game. No quarterback can succeed in those conditions. So for me, you address the offensive line, you address the defense, you address depth, right? Depth is really key that people overlook. They think, oh, well, we have a good D-line. That's fine. Look what happened to the 49ers. The 49ers literally had the best D-line in all of football, and every single one of their D-linemen got hurt last year, and they sucked. So for me, I don't know. Let's see. If you don't believe in Goff, then pass up a franchise quarterback in Fields. So my thing, Lion King, is everyone says those first-round quarterbacks are franchise quarterbacks. And to me, if you just look at the history of the NFL and first round quarterbacks, a lot of them are busts. Literally, if you look just in the past 10 years, so you have recency. Um, a lot of them are busts. Mariota's on the bench. Jameis Winston was the first overall pick. He's on the bench. I mean, potentially could be starting, but he literally got kicked off his team. You look at Trubisky, second overall. He was trash. You look at a lot of these guys, and a lot of them were highly touted coming out of college. And I personally would rather have a team. Quarterbacks are very hard sometimes for them to transition. And damn, I do agree with you. If you're getting a quarterback, you have to go first round. But there's quarterbacks every single year in every single draft. A lot of these guys were nobody besides Lawrence. Who the hell was Trey Lance? Who was Zach Wilson? These guys were nothing special. Mac Jones wasn't even playing because Tua was the starter. You know what I'm saying? These guys come out of nowhere every single year, and I don't want to force the pick when we do have Goff. And the big thing is yeah, I'm not high on Goff, but he's under contract and under a big contract. We're investing a lot of money in him. 2 years down the road, your team is more established. You build up the offensive line. You get at least one pass catcher because our wide receiver room is horrendous. And you fix the defense, man. So even if you don't hit 100%, like you drafted Deshaun Watson or Mahomes or freaking Josh Allen or someone, you still have a good enough team that can carry over the hump, So, I mean, that's how I look at it. Mac Jones fits what Shanahan does. Jimmy G can't stay healthy, so even if he is a lighter move, he could be healthier. That is true, Funky. I mean, that is very true. I just look at it as even when Jimmy Garoppolo got them to the Super Bowl, they had literally top-ranked offensive line, run game, and defense, and they weren't able to get it done because Jimmy Garoppolo held them down. And I just think in today's NFL, you got to have someone that's mobile, man. And I know Mac Jones can run a little bit better than Jimmy G, but I just don't see the reason to invest so many first round picks and draft capital in a quarterback like Mac Jones. For me, you got to take someone with a lot more upside, or if you went Justin Fields, I mean, that's a dual threat, and they definitely have the offensive, playmakers to pull how the Ravens, run their offense with Lamar. Let's see. All that being said, I think you're too funny, man. I find it funny. Everyone says you have to build from the trenches out, but when it's draft time, everyone says you need the number one wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Cap High School, I appreciate you in the chat. I don't think I've seen you before, so if you want, like and subscribe. We talk. We usually have people on. It's very rare that I go live on my own. But the belief for me is if you look at the most dominant teams in the NFL, all of them have good trench players. I mean, it's very rare that you don't have a good offensive line or you don't have a good defensive line and you're successful in the NFL. You look at just literally, for instance, the Bucs. Who the hell? Majority of fans can't name the Bucs secondary because of the fact that their D line was so good. I mean, you had Sue, you had Shaq Barrett, you had David. You had a lot of linebackers, you had a lot of D linemen. You had JPP. And that's what put them over the hump. And then their secondary doesn't have to play that well. And I believe we have a, somewhat talented secondary. You got Tracy Walker, you got Amani. You obviously just invested the third overall pick in Okudah. If you have enough pressure coming from that D line, it's just going to open everything up, man. So I get it. I mean, I don't know why everyone wants a wide receiver or running back. I mean, if you look at it, Fitzgerald, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Mike Thomas, Devontae Adams, all these number one wide receivers, they're not doing shit. DeAndre Hopkins, they're not doing anything because you need a team. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love having a dominant wide receiver. It's exciting. Obviously it helps your offense, but if you don't have a defense, you don't have an offensive line, you're not getting anywhere. I literally don't care what team you are. There's not a single team, at least that I know of, that has been successful, won Super Bowls, that doesn't have an offensive line and a good defense. I mean, you look at the Patriots. I know obviously it's hard, but they're the ones that have been winning, for the past 2 decades. They have never really had a very dominant receiver going into those Super Bowls. They had Gronk. Gronk's a tight end, but they had a very good offensive line. They obviously had Tom Brady, and they had a very good defense. So even Manning sucked ass when he won that Super Bowl with the Broncos. Absolutely the most horrendous showing I've ever seen from a quarterback in the Super Bowl. And they won because their defense was freaking stellar. And their offensive line was able to keep, Manning clean for the most part. Obviously, they got a safety early on, but that's aside the fact. Let's see. Fields is not it. Seriously, I'd pass on him in a heartbeat. I agree with you, Funk. I don't know if it's just the OSU thing or what. I don't like quarterbacks from Bama. I don't like quarterbacks from OSU. To me, they just have so much talent on those teams that it doesn't seem to transition well when it comes to them going to the next level. And just like Tua, I think Tua is trash. I don't know why people like Tua. I don't know why they liked him coming out of college. He had literally 4 of the most dominant receivers in college football. You had Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. You had Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. You had endless wide receiver options. And I know I'm missing someone. I don't know why I'm missing somebody, but you had endless options, and then you go into NFL and you're versing tougher talent. And it's not that easy to just throw a deep ball to one of these guys. See, Lance was a guy I wanted in 2019. Yeah, it's going to be hard to really tell what happens with these quarterbacks and a lot of these players because a lot of them sat out, and they didn't really have training and off season and all this because all the COVID crap. So it is going to be very interesting to see what they end up doing. Yo, what up, Luke? I sent a link if you want to join, man. I mean, you're more than welcome. Let's see. Need O-line, safety, wide receiver, linebacker. You know what? I would love to address every single one of these needs, John. I 100% would love to address all these. Honestly, kind of somewhat in that order, actually. I would like to take offensive line. What I'm doing, Andrew. You got it right, Luke. I want to address offensive line first round. I like the depth at offensive tackle, but I'd rather get one of those top 3 guys, in my opinion, and then safety, dude, Richie Grant, the second, man. If we can get him or somehow Meringue falls to second, I am 100% A-okay with grabbing one of these guys. I would prefer to grab a linebacker earlier, man, but it's just offensive line is so much more important than linebacker. Wide receiver, I'd be okay with drafting a wide receiver with one of our third, round picks. I think there's a couple guys that could fall that are still top 10 at their position. I think that would be pretty interesting. Maybe like a Terrence Marshall. It depends what draft board you're looking at, but I mean, they have wide receivers all over the freaking place. One of the Moores, Ron Moore or Elijah. I wouldn't mind them. I just want guys that have speed, can get separation, good at route running. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for no contested catch guys. Like, I'm sick. I'm done with it. But let's see. In that order. Yeah, I like that. Yep, exactly. If this falls at 7, I'll take him over. I'll tell you what, John, I just I know he runs like a wide receiver and he has the abilities to. I can't take a skill player at 7, man. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I don't like drafting wide receiver early. I don't like drafting tight end early. I don't like drafting running back early. The value for me is not there. I mean, you look at, you literally, let's use the Giants, for instance, right? They took Saquon early as shit. Where are the Giants at? The Giants literally are nowhere still. And given Saquon was hurt all last year, but they're nowhere to be found because you need to draft offensive linemen. Their offensive line sucks. Their quarterback is not good. Their defense is not good. You have to draft a draft. You need to address those needs. Even like the Ravens. Everyone wants to bash the Ravens. Oh, they don't have wide receivers. You literally have a top 3 defense, a top 3 run game. And given Lamar is really attributing to that run game, but you're able to basically be top 2 in the AFC with a run game, an offensive line, and a defense. Don't even need wide receivers to get that far. And that just goes to show you that they're not valued as much as people think. And they have Mark Andrews. We have freaking Hawkinson. That's not really that far off if we use him correctly. Let's see. I want a strong front both ends after then. Cool. Let's go. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Cap Ice and go. I'll tell you what, man. For me, if you look at those teams like the Steelers and, the Ravens and all these guys, they always are constantly addressing offensive line, defensive line, front 7, because they know they're the most valuable positions. For one, they're hard to hit later on. For 2, they're the most expensive positions outside of quarterback on your entire team. If you can get them on cheap deals, that allows you to go get free agents to fill in and trickle in the rest. You want to go get Julio and his contract up, you want to go get Mike Thomas, Devontae Adams, whatever, you have that ability because you're drafting more expensive players, and then you constantly have, a cycle going through instead of, oh shit, I just lost Taylor Decker. Now I have nobody on that left side. You'd be able to plug someone in. Dallas did a really good job with, getting Tunsil and I'm totally drawing a blank on another guy. But they're drafting to replace their O lineman because they know that without an O line, you're screwed. Let's see. My man Luke. Luke, you guys are killing it, man. You got like over 100 people in the chat, dude. Kudos to you guys. I miss Hook Cam and all them. And you guys just, let's see. Ranks are O-line like 13th, which is good. Lion King, yeah. I mean, the hard part is there are so many teams that have drafted quarterbacks recently that did not have a team around them, and they suck right now. You know, and I know our O-line is 13th, but that's because we have Jackson, we got Ragnar, we got Decker. Why not shirt up and have a top 5, top 3 offensive line? We've seen what that has done for teams that had mediocre quarterbacks or, you know, average, you know, skill players, whatever. Like, having a very elite offensive line just frees up everything. DeMarco freaking Murray had like 2,000 something all-purpose yards that one year. And they killed it offensively. You know, they were one of the best offenses because their O-line was young, they were hungry, they were healthy, and they were dominant. You know, same thing with the Eagles. They had a very dominant offensive line, and it just helps. I think you still need to address it because our right side, our entire right side, is severely lacking talent. And I get, so like the instance with the quarterback, for instance, Deshaun Watson, they blew ass last year because they had no defense. They didn't really have, you know, a run game. They're missing a lot. And you have Deshaun Watson, who's arguably top 5 quarterback, top 8 quarterback. You look at Justin Herbert, you look at Joe Burrow. Those guys were both drafted, you know, 1st and 5th overall, or I think 5th or 6th. Their team sucks. Their team is so bad, and they decided to draft a quarterback. Joe Burrow literally tore his ACL because he got hit, and, you know, just they're not protecting the quarterback, and now they're potentially drafting Jamar Chase to pair him up with that. That would be stupid. That would literally be the dumbest thing ever. Your quarterback can't stay clean, and you're going to draft a wide receiver. How is he going to throw the ball if he's on his back? And so I just look at these teams, right? Those are very talented quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Deshaun. Their teams blow. You know, I'm not going to risk my star quarterback getting hurt because I don't have an offensive line. You know, that's my future. That's my investment. So I get what you're saying. I mean, you do need a talented quarterback. But I think offensive line sets you up for the future, and I'm trying not to be like narrow-sighted. Let's see. I'm fine with Josh Palmer, Jamar Jack. Honestly, I love both those guys, Cap. I really do like both those guys. Let's see. Vance didn't have a choice. His whole division can. That is true, Funk. That is true. I want to trade back and take Jenkins. Ooh, see, Tevin Jenkins, for those of you that don't know, very, very talented tackle. I have him ranked 3rd. The hard part is, in terms of the tackles, is Sewell is just, I don't know if he'd be able to transition to right tackle, and I don't know if I would want Decker to transition to right tackle. So it's kind of hard because you don't want to force one of them to play out of position. So Jenkins and Slater would be phenomenal on that right side. I mean, Slater literally shut down Chase Young when he was in college, and we've seen what Chase Young can do. I mean, absolutely raw talent, and he has just tremendous power. If we can get around 20 or so, if we could trade back with Washington, I feel like Jenkins would still be on the board and we could snag him and still have another 1st. Are there any D linemen? Oops. Are there any D linemen you see that we can grab later in the draft? Ooh, Bobby Brown, dude. James Hollifield. Bobby Brown is going probably 5th round, 4th round. This guy is going to be talented. I absolutely love Bobby Brown. I think for sure, you know, that he'll be there later on, but you never know. There's always reaches, things like that. But he would be a very good, you know, D lineman that I think would pair very well with Penasini. If not him, Milton. I can totally drawing a blank on his last name. I think he plays for Florida. Milton, I know you guys know because how many people first name is Milton? He got injured, you know, last year, and so he fell down draft boards. But if he comes back healthy, I mean, this dude's measurables are tremendous. I think if we can get him later on, that he would be great. See, top offensive line pick at 7 will not turn us around, only to me, quarterback. I get it, man. I do get it. It's just we've seen what happens when you have a quarterback that you draft high, you know, in the draft. If you don't put a team around them, it's tough. We're not going to get wins right away. I promise you. I don't care who we draft first. round, we're not going to break 500. And if we do, I mean, shit, the front office and staff did a phenomenal job. But honestly, just no matter what pick hit, like we decide to take on, it's not going to turn our franchise around. We have to literally address about 15 different starting positions. So that team sport, man, PFF is trash. And you preaching to the choir, Luke. I mean, they literally said that we have the worst ranked roster in the whole NFL, and I literally could not stop laughing. I was like, "Who the fuck?" I'm like, and I literally argue with someone on Twitter about this. I'm like, "Do you guys not know Houston? Like, have you never seen Houston's roster? They got rid of all their talent, and their starting quarterback is literally facing like 100 different charges." Then you look at a team like Jacksonville. Yeah, they got a couple playmakers. Don't get me wrong, they do got a couple playmakers, but we also have a decent amount of playmakers that either had an awful season because of the coaching staff or were hurt, So it honestly is funny. It's super funny to me. And our defense can't allow 40 points again. That's literally, you can't even allow 40 points if you didn't start a defense every single game. Like, that was how bad our defense was. So I just can't see us being worse than we were defensively last year. And especially with all the coaching changes. Hope they can get Cisco with one of the thirds. Dude, I'll tell you what, John, depending on what draft board you're looking at, Cisco, I mean, is even falling to the 5th in some drafts. So I would absolutely love Cisco. I don't necessarily like taking people who have had, an injury, coming into the draft or anything, but he's talented, man. If we don't address safety early in the draft and like Grant or Meringue or Javon Holland or someone, I would absolutely love taking Cisco later on, even if we had to reach a little bit for him because he is very talented. Talk to him, Andrew. You already know. Let's see. We either should take a quarterback or offensive lineman. I agree. We need to address the right side bad. Look, you cracking me up, man, because literally I watched your video and I was laughing so hard because you could not stop clowning on Ibushi and Big V. And I was like, dude, these guys are literally just standing there and just allowing guys to run past them, or they're just completely whiffing on blocks. And I don't want that. I want guys that are going to pour their heart out. I mean, they're hungry. They want to have pancakes for dinner every single day. You know what I'm saying? So if we don't address it first round, I hope to God we address the second round because there's enough depth there to kind of get one of those guys. Magic. Love it. Bengals will be lying. I don't know what the hell the Bengals are doing, man. If those rumors are true about them grabbing Chase, I can't even comprehend it. You got T. Higgins, you have Boyd, you have Joe Mixon. What the hell do you want? You need an offensive line, I think we should go defense next year. So one pride, if we were to address the offense appropriately in this draft, like if we were, take offensive tackle round 1, round 2, maybe you grab a wide receiver. Round 3, maybe you grab a guard because guards aren't as valued in the draft. That's fine with me. That is fine with me because those are all needs, and it would be appropriate based off their draft position. But I don't want to completely neglect the defense. And you never know. I mean, next year's defensive class could be awful, and then you're kind of screwed. Luke, what are you talking about? You never know with Luke. I'll be okay with trading back and taking. Yep, me too. Millen Williams. Yeah, that's his name. Is it Louisiana Tech? I could have swore it was Florida. I could totally be whiffing, but I knew his first name was Millen. He's a defensive tackle. All you YouTubers like Luke G and other Lions on the prowl pushing off on the side. I don't see it passing up on a Kyler Murray clone. Yeah, I mean, look, Kyler Murray's great and all, but you see how much he needs around him. They literally brought in D-Hop. They brought in J.J. Watt. They brought in, I'm totally drawing a blank, they brought in someone else on the offense, I believe. I mean, how much do you need, man? That is literally as much support as you can possibly get. He needs a good offensive line and run game. You get that, I guarantee you they're going far into the playoffs. But even with Kyler Murray, they still haven't been successful yet, man. And they have a top 3 wide receiver. They have Chandler Jones. Now they have J.J. Watt. They got all these guys, need a team, man. So it's hard because offensive line is so unappealing in terms of it's not flashy, it's not exciting. But those who truly understand the game understand that you have a good offensive line that compensates for not having good wide receivers. You have a good offensive line that compensates the run game, that compensates passing game. It literally helps everything, man. And so I wouldn't mind. And we have 2 first-round picks in both next year's draft and the year after. If we really need to, we can address that quarterback room in one of those drafts. And also how I look at it is 5 quarterbacks, 5 are literally going to go in the top 10 this year. 5 quarterbacks on top of all the other teams that already set on quarterbacks. Even if it's a quarterback heavy class next year, the year after, which you never know, how many teams are truly going to invest a high first round pick in quarterbacks? You look at the draft with Trubisky, Mahomes, and Watson. Mahomes and Watson are arguably two of the best quarterbacks we've seen come out of a draft in the first round in a very long time. And neither one of them were drafted in the top 5. It's possible. We go 7 and 10 next year, we could still get a top quarterback prospect, and if you really need to, you could invest a little bit of capital to move up. So I don't see the reason to rush a quarterback when you have one on, the roster. Just rewatched last Super Bowl. I feel like you can't win without elite offensive lineman. Dude, I'll tell you what, man. And when Eric Fisher and I'm drawing a blank on the right tackle, when they both went down, I was like, I don't care. You got Mahomes. I don't care if you got Brady. Doesn't matter who you have back there. You don't have offensive tackles to protect you. You're screwed. And that was very apparent. I mean, Mahomes was running for his life. Our O-line is ranked high because it's an average of all 5. Right tackle, top 7. Yeah. Let's see, Goff, Holmes, Campbell all think that they can win this year, and I think so too. Dude, I love it, Edward. I love the positivity, man. Definitely bring that. For me, our defense needs work. We don't really have a wide receiver room. If we were able to succeed with this roster, I will literally buy everything Dan Campbell there is you can possibly own. I will buy the soup cans. I will buy the biting kneecaps. I will buy everything because that would be freaking impressive. I don't think we have an amazing roster. I don't think we have an awful roster, but we're definitely in between and on the lower ranked roster talent. So it would be pretty impressive if we could. Watson had an MVP season and took a beating. Yep, he did. And they also went like 4 wins or something like that. What's a good pickup with the 4th and 5th for you, or at least position? 4th or 5th, depending on who's there. I mean, obviously that is very, depending. There are a couple guys that I can see falling. Nick Bolton fell really far on a lot of draft boards. I would love to grab him if he's still there in the 4th. There's a couple defensive tackles I wouldn't mind later on in those rounds. There's definitely some wide receivers that I would not mind, drafting in that 4th, 5th round area. Let's see. I actually just posted a mock draft the other day as my final mock draft. And my 4th round and 5th round picks, let's see. I took Andre Sisco and I took Josh Palmer. I also had a trade back, so I had Josh Myers from Ohio State to, play our guard. And if they're not there, I mean, there's a couple guys. Bobby Brown, I believe, is going to fall into the 5th round. I think there are some huge steals that late because of the fact that a lot of players don't have tape on them, or they have limited. So that's hard. Of course, they all going to say that they think they can win if they don't. Right. Still no Parson. We'll save that for the draft, man. I mean, they definitely did their research on Parson and everything, so we'll see. I want to say Gillespie. I like Gillespie. Gillespie. I think he's talented. I feel like it's going to be hard. He's going to be in that range where he's going to fall right in between both 2 of our round picks. And then we're just either going to have to trade up or reach for him. And I think that the first couple rounds are pretty deep. I would take Collins over Parsons. Saying Jamie Collins over Parsons? I would not. I'm sorry. I mean, I know people are like, oh my God, he can't cover the pass, whatever. But like before all the allegations came out, Micah Parsons was literally one of the most highly touted linebackers I have ever heard of coming out of college, at least in the last decade. So, I mean, allegations came out. Everyone was like, oh, he can't cover the pass, this, that. And then it was over and everyone hates Parsons now. I just don't understand that. More of a Richie Grant. I personally like Grant the most, D-Hype. I mean, this dude can literally play every single scheme you want. He can play man coverage, a lot of different things. He's very, very versatile. I would not bat an eye grabbing Grant in the second round. Davis Cox drive. Ooh. Yes. Just literally yes, One Pride. I love these guys. I personally think if we can trade back and get Jock, I wouldn't mind it. I truly wouldn't mind it in the first, but I would still be heartbroken that we didn't take one of those elite tackles. I wouldn't mind it though, because he's a game changer, man. I mean, he's so versatile, and I'm of the belief you have good linebackers, you have a good defense literally right there. I mean, we've seen it time and time again with a lot of good dominant defenses. You look at the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl before the Jimmy G era, when they have Harbaugh, their linebackers were freaking phenomenal. Patrick Willis, Aldon Smith, all these guys, and they killed it. Dude, this is exactly why I don't want to go grab Kyler Murray's quote-unquote clone, because it doesn't matter if you don't have a team. It truly doesn't. And that division is just as difficult as ours. I know, Minnesota and the Bears, they took a step back recently, but the Packers are winning 13 freaking games. If you can't get past them, it's going to be really hard to get into the playoffs and be successful. You a clown, Ever. You a clown, man. I'm glad you're not. Let's see. Buy everything, brother. Here comes those two. Yo, I'll tell you what, man. I was a huge Pistons fan back in the day, bro. I went to the parade and everything, and it was so hype. If we can get that bad boy mentality back to Detroit and it be my Lions, I would fucking buy everything. My blood color is Honolulu blue and solar, but it's foolish to think we'll be Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago with Goff. I'll tell you what, man. I don't look at just a quarterback, because I've seen it time and time again. If you have a team that doesn't make critical errors, you can be successful. I mean, literally, if Swift caught the ball last year, you beat Chicago. You look at stuff like that. If you don't allow 40 points to frickin' Minnesota, you probably beat them. If our defense can even play middle of the pack, we're going to win a good amount of games, because a good coach, I don't know what's going to happen in the draft. A good coach is going to look at our offensive roster, and they're going to be like, oh, you have DeAndre Swift, you have TJ Hockenson. Let's incorporate them and make them the centerpiece of our offense. You don't force those wide receivers into roles to where they need to fill in big shoes. You utilize your best players and you put them in the position to get the ball. McCaffrey getting 30 freaking touches a game. If DeAndre Swift 30 touches a game, the guy is dynamic. TJ Hockenson, utilize him like George Kittle. You got to throw him the ball 15 times a game. Throw that man the ball 15 times a game. Just go and take what the defense gives you, and a good offensive coordinator is going to tell his quarterback to do that, and he's not going to be like, oh, you have to throw to Cephas, you have to throw a Perriman. Dude, just take what the defense gives you. But you need to utilize and incorporate those star playmakers a lot more. I'm just a fan, and yes, I want an exciting player at 7. I get it, man. Nothing's more exciting than watching, skill players play, but I want us to be successful. And if that means seeing us draft offensive linemen or something, it's just, that's what I got to do. And I got to suffer through the draft. Can't cover. It came up before, though. Okay. Goff going to prove you all wrong. I don't think Goff is an awful quarterback. I truly don't. I just don't think he's better than Stafford by any means. And to me, that's a downgrade. And then also, Stafford had Kenny Galladay, he had Marvin Jones and all these guys. Goff is not going to have a Kenny Galladay. Goff is not going to have a Marvin Jones. So I hope he plays well. I don't want to see stupid errors. As long as you're not making stupid errors, I'm fine with it. And I think he's gonna have some fun, man, because him and McVay, I mean, they were clashing and everything. That's very possible. I mean, that is very possible. You're good at rushing the passer, and we'll see. I'll tell you what, Funk, man, if you watch Goff when they were successful on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, their offense was dynamic. They literally had a top 2 offense in the league, given they literally had Todd Gurley just shattering, defenses. Just absolutely bulldozing through everyone, getting 100 yards minimum, touchdown, all that. But, they were killing it through the air. It's not like they were slouches through the air. I'm pretty sure Goff threw for over 4,000 yards and everything. So if we can incorporate Goff's skill set into the offense and, like I said, utilize Hockenson, utilize Swift more, I think we can have success. I just don't think we're going to score, upper 20s or anything like that. So that's why we need to address the offensive line. We need to address the defense and stuff. Right. I mean, my thing is I don't want instant gratification, right? I want long-term success. And long-term success literally means draft from the inside out. And like you look at teams like the Steelers, they draft Najee Harris or one of those guys. They have a very, very dominant offense. They have everything. Big Ben sucks. I'm sorry. I mean, I love Big Ben, but he's over the hill. I mean, he's over with. You get a run game in there and you get a quarterback that can manage the game, I guarantee you they go to Super Bowl. That defense is way too damn talented. They have way too many receivers for them not to. I'm not sure who that is, one part, I'll be honest with you. I usually do my research once the season's over. Honestly, Zach, that perfectly describes what I want to do. If those people believe that Goff is so bad, how did they get to the Super Bowl? How have they made it to playoffs? They did that because they had a team. You have a team you can plug in someone like a Goff. If you think he's that bad, you can literally plug in someone like a Goff and have them excel. So it just kind of furthers the point of get a team, plug in a quarterback. Parsons got Oregon defensive. And man, we all have bad games. Also, that was a year that I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, that the Bears literally had just a freakishly good defense. That is true. I mean, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, they're phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal after catch. We don't have a guy like that. We really don't. So that's when you just got to play smart, man. Take what the defense gives you. And I did want to touch bases on something someone had mentioned. You know, there's a couple trade partners out there, right? I'm looking at these trades, and you have the Patriots. You have, let me see, the Patriots, Washington, and the other one most likely was the Bears, you know. And the Bears, they're saying they're offering 2 first-round picks. So this year's first-round pick, next year's first-round pick, and Hakeem Hicks. That is very interesting just because of the fact that we'd be getting 2 first-round picks and then Hakeem Hicks to kind of anchor down that D-line. I don't know if I would do that, though, just because Hicks is a little bit older. The trade I'm really looking at, man, is the Patriots and Washington. If you can trade back in that 15-19 range, get another first for next year and potentially even more capital, I am all for that. Because if you're not taking a quarterback, you should be trading down in the scenario. You could even still potentially get Slater later on at 15. You never know because of the fact of who is up there in the top 10. It's so hard to pass up on capital, especially given that we don't have that much this year. Let's see. Yeah, and just kind of continuing off the subject, you know, Dan Orlovsky, I freaking love this guy. I mean, he constantly is talking about the Lions, stuff like that. You don't trade in division. Yeah. That's why I was like, I can't, man. I don't know. So Orlovsky pretty much came out, and I swear to God, his co-hosts were looking at him like he was crazy. And I was like, man, this guy needs to quit because these people don't know what they're talking about. And he was like, learn from your history, learn from your mistakes. Don't go out. And he basically was referencing, don't go out, draft a skill player. Don't go out, try and do something flashy. You're not in that position. You don't need to be flashy. You need to get the people to build a foundation of your team, and you need to address the offensive side of the ball. You need to get the offensive tackle, you know. You start there, and you continue from there, you know. And I agree. I mean, Jesus Christ, please, for the love of God, if we address the offensive defensive line, you're going to be successful just from that alone. Eagles. Who the hell did the Eagles have? What was it, like 2 years ago? Yeah, when they went to the Super Bowl like 2 years ago, their defensive line was so freaking dominant, Fletcher Cox and all those guys, that they didn't even need the greatest, you know, linebackers and secondary because their D-line was creating so much pressure. You know, you held Tom Brady, the best quarterback ever to live, to like 14 points. Get that D-line and O-line right, and you can be successful. That is true. I really want Tevin. If we trade back that far, Edward, I want Tevin Jenkins really bad. Trading down is definitely a misoption. Yeah, most draft capital. I mean, and there's a lot of talented players. So in this draft that you can get early on. Chargers won't let Slater fall pass on him. That is true. I definitely see them drafting that. If not, I mean, even maybe someone on the defensive side of the ball, just because of what's been happening with their defense. I mean, it seems like they have injuries to all their star players every year. I'm saying only be flashy. I can't be flashy at 7, man. I'm sorry. If we were like pick 20 or something and it's a later round pick, maybe, but just given the state of our team, I literally can't. All right. So I've been on for 45 minutes. I do want to tell you guys, if you're not subscribed, obviously, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Just show some love to the channel, DSA, everyone. The big thing I want you guys to take away is that we are going live on my channel on Thursday for round 1. I believe we're starting at 7:30. So we're going to be there, about half hour before the draft, can kind of start talking about some things. And then, we're going to be covering the whole draft. So definitely stay with us. We'll be bouncing around channels in terms of day 2, day 3. I believe Jim and Kurt and them on Detroit Lions on the Prowl, they should be covering day 3 from what I heard. It's not set in stone, but that's a possibility. And then potentially 313 JMO would be hosting round 2. So if you guys are tuning in, or maybe you don't have a TV for cable or anything that, to cover the draft, we will be covering it. We're going to be covering every pick and everything. So definitely tune in and just show some love, man. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming out. Love the chat, just, hit me up on Twitter if you guys ever want to talk or anything. I mean, I love interacting with people. So message me, just interact through tweets, whatever. And let's have some fun, guys. 2 more days. 2 more days. We will literally be drafting in literally 48 hours. So enjoy, get some rest. I will catch y'all later.